and welcome back to another battle report here on Tried and True. A huge thank you to our viewers and patrons who support our content. It's a monumental help, thank you so much. If you like our content, please take a moment to subscribe for future notifications and stay up to date with our bat reps and podcast releases. If you'd like to support us on Patreon, please check out our link in the video description below. Shout out to our artist Julia for the enhanced Falcir image. She looks great. Our match today was filmed during our monthly Steamroller and features our players facing off on the ever-classic Scenario 1, King of the Hill. Welcoming to Tried and True for the first time out of the South Jersey meta is Elliot. He has brought a 75-point army of Retribution. Please introduce yourself and talk to us about what you brought today.
Hi, I'm Elliot from South Jersey. So today I am playing Falcir the Merciless in Defenders of Ios in Retribution of Syra. This list has a lot of tools and a lot of attacks, and Falcir does a lot of personal work with her bounty system as well. I really have been liking Elara 1 with the Harpy for Ghostwalk to really put it on what needs to go through anything, and it's great for Falcir sprinting back. And I really like the Stormfall Archers as well for continuous effects and long-range attacks. And the Trident is great for its volume, number of attacks, and place effect too. The list really needs Falcir to do a lot of work, and I like to place her behind the theme wall in an aggressive position for putting out bounty tokens and casting Force Hammer and charging over it with Ghost Walk and sprinting back to a safe spot.
Returning to the channel with our army of Circle from the Mid-Atlantic Mollywhoppers is Mike. Welcome back. Please tell us who you are playing today.
Hi, I'm playing Wurmwood in Secret Masters today. This list is pretty sweet because prior to the update, Wurmwood wasn't a caster option in Secret Masters, but since then they were added to the theme, and with the addition to Kruger Zero to the faction and the Living Beast getting better, there's a lot of cool tools in the list. So we've got double Valkyries, Slaughterhousers, Shifting Stones, 2 Primal Archons, 2 Dunia Archons, a River Raider, triple Gallows Grove Hermit, and Kruger Zero, who has a Feral Warpwolf, and then on Wurmwood we've got a Pureblood and a Stalker. This list is kind of just trying to control the board between Wurmwood's feet, the cloud/forest wall that can be created, and just having a lot of durable models and excess of attacks to kind of play a scenario game.
Can the Defenders of Ios, under the leadership of Falcir, overcome the Tree of Fate and an army of dedicated followers? Let's get to the table and roll off.
Okay, so I won the first turn and chose to go first, and Michael chose the far side, and this is a standard turn 1 for me. I placed my theme wall in the center of the table as an aggressive spot for Falcir to sit and put bounty tokens out and try to threat that center zone and the flag. Right now I'm vanishing Falcir and then charging a target across the table to land right behind the wall, camping 4. My plan this turn is to make sure Wurmwood cannot cast Stranglehold on my Trident, if possible, via arcing it through the arc nodes. And right now I'm running my unit just into an aggressive position to kind of take control of that bottom zone when possible and contest the middle. I need to be careful as Wurmwood's spells are not blast damage, so they can kill a lot of defenders, but because I have the Soulless Escort attachment with that -5 range on the spells, I feel fairly safe for this first turn, but do need to respect it for my Electromancers and Stormfall Archers. I made sure to put my Harpy within 4 of the objective so I could see through those 2 fire clouds. I'm moving Silas to be within 5 inches of Falcir for the free upkeep. And I placed my Trident fairly far back so that it cannot get Stranglehold cast on it this turn. And the rest of this is really just positioning so that I can attack any models inside Michael's zone. And I believe this is my last model to move. And then I pass clock.
So going into my turn, I'm kind of checking a few things off the bat. Right now I'm trying to figure out how I want to place Kruger's clouds and the forests for Wurmwood, which will come down the line. And off the bat, I'm just having the primal run up, get within 4 of the objective. The initial play was to just put a cloud right into the top of the stalker to proc stealth, giving it stealth from prowl. But I decided to kind of just use them to kind of block my entire army. Since there's not really many anti-cloud options on Elliot's side, I felt pretty safe just running up most of my army behind the forest from Warmwood and the 2 clouds from Kruger 0. And just kind of fill the spaces with the shield guards, which are the Pharaoh Valkyries, and the slaughterhousers try and threaten out most of the zone, because they do hit fairly hard, and with takedown they do get around the Risavos hitting back, as well as they're tough. Wormwood's always a little tricky to position correctly because it's one of the few, if only, casters that cannot move on their own. So you have to be really careful with Cassius and the shifting stones, as they are the only way to keep Wormwood moving. And then I just back Wormwood up, keep them in a safe position, just don't want any early kills from Falcir on my caster, and then kind of fill that space with all my beasts. And at that point, Elliot puts a bounty token on my feral when it runs up. And then I'm just trying to use this cloud to my best advantage and kind of spread my arc nodes and make it a bit tough to let Elliot continue to play around them. Try and keep my primal in a very threatening position, and same with my pureblood, but out of threat. And then continue to fill in the space with Feral Valkyries to kind of protect a lot of my army from the many guns that Elliot has. And then to finish it off, I just run Lanissa and the Dunia to make sure I have everything within their martyr range.
Okay, so this next turn, I need to position myself in a way so that I can still contest the pieces and try to make it difficult for Michael to score. I can't do too much with the forest and 2 clouds in the middle, as I do not have true sight in the middle of the table, but I do give it to the Harpy that is on Ilara 1. And right now I'm kind of thinking what my goal is and what I want to try and accomplish. I still want to prevent the Trident from being strangleholded. So I'm kind of just thinking currently regarding how to allocate. So I give a focus to the Harpy. Falcir does not have to allocate. I also like to plan each turn if I need to cast Ghost Walk anything with Lara. So I start my activation and apparate. I did place my bounty token on the Pharaoh last turn, which is great to do minus speed on to prevent his threat range. I'm measuring some threat ranges to his trees near the bottom, as those are some of the only models I can really get meaningful attacks on right now. So it's hard to see now, but at the very bottom, I am moving my Electromancer unit over behind that bottom house and attacking the bottom tree, the Gallows Grove. I do the D3 damage rolls attack and manage to kill it, and then they reposition back behind the house. The Harpy with True Sight can see the second Gallows Grove behind the tree. I debated shooting at the Primal, but he had some shield guards, so I vetoed that idea. So the Harpy moves up. He does shield guard the first shot. onto the Valkyrie. And the second shot kills the Gallows Grove. So we move some of that 3D terrain a little bit so that I'm not hiding too many models behind them. At this point, I'm trying to figure out what I want to put in the middle zone to try and contest it for the bottom of 2 scoring. Taking out those 2 arc nodes was fairly big for that bottom zone to keep the defenders safe. I need to keep a few models close to that flag in the middle to make it difficult for them to score that zone. I need to make sure everything is in command range. Move this Soulless escort back. Elveers moves up into the trench. I believe the Manicore is either rolling up some shots or placing a covering fire. Nope, a little too far. So Manicore just sits there. The Hermit moves up behind the wall, towing that center zone. There isn't too much that can actually threaten Falcir, sitting there with a full camp and a Hermit vision. So I feel fairly safe, especially with my unstoppable rule to prevent me from being pushed. So my Ghost Sniper moves up. I believe it is shooting at a Valkyrie, just for 3 damage, and repos back to tow that corner. I can't shoot too much with my archers or electromancers in the top half of the table, so I'm really just positioning on that side. I shimmy the Banshee over. And I move electromancers up just to position some and keep them at least 2 inches apart, so they can't all die to one spell. And that ends my turn.
So going into my second turn, I have a little bit of regret of losing both those bottom arc nodes, but it's just something I'll have to deal with. Thankfully, I couldn't really lose too much more between all the shield guards and the martyrs from, or the threads from the Dunia Archons, which just kind of adds to the layers of this list. So right now I'm just looking to see what I can do this turn. My goal is to score as many points as I can, because it's going to be a Wurmwood feat turn, which makes my command range my a forest. So I'm thinking that I can easily score the middle flag. It just takes clearing a few guys. I'm gonna try and clear out the sniper from the top zone so I can score that. And then killing the objective between the Primal Archon and the Pureblood Spray should seem pretty likely, with a boosted POW 14, a boosted POW 15, and 2 POW 14s from the Primal. So I'm just kind of thinking through my options. There's a lot of like weird order of activation things that have to happen in this list, between like how I can Hellmouth my models forward, I can Hellmouth his models around, I need to feat, but if I feat before a bunch of my models go, then they lose line of sight. So there's a lot of cool things this list has to do, so it takes a little bit of time. And what I'm doing here is I'm just trying to see where Wurmwood can go to completely cover my models with the forest and keep me safe for another turn, while still having a pretty aggressive board position. And I'm also being aware of Falcir's personal threat, with the fact that she has Ghost Walk and Vanish. There's a very good chance that she could get to Wurmwood if I'm not too careful with where they go. So right now the Slaughterhousers are just charging in on that one Risavos by the flag, and I hit and kill. Takedown's really key in this match, as I said before, as it lets me just ignore quite a few of the rules that Risavos have. So the Primal Archon runs up to score that flag, and then I'm just kind of messing with some measurements on where the Stalker can stand, and I score that zone. Valkyries are just running up to continue to be just shield guards to protect my army from all the guns that Elliot has in his list. And from that position, I kind of decided that I want to shimmy Wurmwood over a bit just to make sure that my Stalkers or my Pureblood's going to be completely covered when it goes up to spray the objective. This turn takes a little bit of time, but given that it's my feat turn, it feels important that I execute it the best I can. So the Gallows Grove goes up within 10 of the Ghost Sniper, so Wurmwood can Stranglehold it. The Pureblood walks over, boost to hit a spray because I just need the Fury out anyways, and then boost the damage, which isn't too terribly impressive, but it does start some chip damage. I believe I did 4 damage to it. So Primal Archon needs to come in and do another 11 points. And with the charge, we get it fairly low, but then both the claws roll low, leaving it alive, which wasn't the intent. I wasn't too thrilled about it considering command my Archon for it, so we're having the Valkyries walk up and put 2 shots into it with their shield cannons to try and kill it, which I think just barely leaves it alive, like it's on 2 at this point or something like that. So I'm really trying to figure out, because I really would like to go up by 3 this turn to put the pressure on Elliot to kind of either overcommit his next turn or let me pressure a score out. So Kruger gets ported by the Shifting Stones, shoots the objective, boosts the damage, and kills it. And then the Hazard leaves a POW 10, which fails to kill the Risavos there, and just protects my Primal a little bit more. So now that I know that I get to score that, we're going to have Lanissa just kind of run up to a spot to threaten with Hunter's Mark, the Dunias to get their auras for Threads of Life into a good spot, and then I think we're running low on activations here, so we're getting close to Wurmwood's turn. It's key that a lot of the minion models go first, because a lot of them don't have Pathfinder. So if I was to defeat early, they'd all be half speed, where it's less impactful on the circle models who all tend to have Pathfinder. Here I'm boosting to hit a Stranglehold into the Ghost Sniper, which I hit. I roll the damage, I kill. I then teleport up Wurmwood with Dark Path, and then I feat. Stalker runs my zone to score it and be completely within the forest, and just rallying it up to get all the fury I need out. And then the last few models kind of just get into place. Stalker warps 4 plates and just postures aggressively, and I score 3.
Okay, so Michael just scored 3 points and is going to top of 3. So I'm really planning to see and measuring what I can attack, and looking at it, almost everything is inside of their feet, so there isn't too many options to actually shoot. So most of the top of my list can't do too much, but the things I can kill are the 2 primals in the middle, or at least attempt to. The bottom Archon is not in the feet, and the center one is within walking range of a few of my models. But they are still safe from the feet, so I do have to walk to get them. There aren't too many charges. So right now I'm thinking of what I really want to do. So looking here, I do see that Falcir can walk up there. So I know I'm going to cast Ghost Walk on Falcir. I'm debating if I want to feat this turn. I'm proxying out where Falcir will stand. So I make a mistake here, not realizing that Falcir's Unstoppable rule does also prevent Shadowbind, which is a pretty good rule to be able to ignore. So what I'm measuring is Falcir to walk and then vanish to be within melee range of the primal, therefore preventing the Shadowbind, which in hindsight was unneeded, but that is okay. I'm still debating if I do want to feat this turn, which I end up doing because the 2 primals are the highest armor models in Michael's list. So getting that extra +2 damage could be big. And putting out the other bounty tokens on his heavies is also very impactful. So Yularen allocates to the Harpy. Falcir does not allocate to either heavy. And I'm still deciding the order I wish to do these things. Checking a couple threat ranges, seeing if my trident can do anything. Trying to see what my Banshee could potentially do as well. As I could potentially Ghost Walk it and have it trample. So I apparate Yularen, walk over, cast Ghost Walk, and reposition back. The Ghost Walk is on Falcir. There is a spot that is within 5 inches of both primals that I can place the Hermit to get another -2 armor. So I'm proxying that out right now. I want to place the Hermit in a spot where Falcir can sprint back. So I put that proxy base in another spot right behind the house, since I can walk through that with Ghost Walk. And stepping 2 inches at a time, I have plenty of room to walk there. So Hermit walks to that spot between the 2 primal Archons and puts the -2 armor aura, affecting both primals. So now Falcir has feated, and I put down the bounty tokens onto both primals, as well as the other 2 heavies. So Falcir walks up and vanishes into the melee range of the primal and does a Thresher. But Michael very smartly does a Dunia Vision on the Slaughterhouser and the Hermit Vision onto the primal. And because there's no damage rolls, I cannot put additional bounty tokens down from the melee attack. So right now I am rolling my damage rolls here. So like I said, Falcir always has to do a lot of work in this list. And Michael fails the tough roll, so Falcir does kill the primal. So because I killed the primal Archon, Falcir does sprint. So before, we were both under the impression that Falcir was not immune to Shadowbind, so we do put a Shadowbind token on Falcir, because the sprint spot was within 3 of the primal Archon. So I feel a little silly at the time during the game, but in hindsight, that token should not be there. I am now starting to flip the bounty tokens, since I can use them at any point during my turn, not only during Falcir's activation. And I did -2 speed in all 3 heavies. I believe the Harpy just aimed and fired at the Primal Archon. It cannot be pushed, that's why it does not move. Now my Electromancers are walking up to do the D3 damage roll shots. That one rolls 1 shot. And Michael makes the tough roll. Michael makes another tough roll. And another tough roll. So now I'm debating what can go in to kill that primal. So I sent in some defenders. I do not want to touch that hazard, since that will likely auto-kill the defenders. And I need to move some to contest that center flag. So I have a few contesting the center zone. It looks like I currently have 1 defender and the Hermit contesting the center flag. I'm measuring to make sure everything is in command range. So the Primal's still alive after that defender attack, so the Manticore has to go in and get Shadowbind. It hits and I finally kill it. So I'm scoring that bottom zone. I have a few models in the middle zone contesting the flag and behind the wall in the house. So I'm measuring to see what else my army can do on the top half. I know I need to contest that top zone. I'm debating moving the Banshee over just to tow that zone, but I'm worried that his heavies will kill it. So I want to position it in a spot so that I can go in on the following turn towards anything that went into clear or attempt to that center zone. So I just moved the Banshee back a little bit, and I decide to run the Electromancer unit since they do not have any attacks up there, as everything is inside the Wurmwood Forest. The Trident moves down a little bit to position itself for next turn so that it could go in on either the heavy or the objective. And I run the Stormfall Archers as they cannot shoot anything. I move Silas to be within 5 of Falcir, and I end my turn.
So after Elliot scored 1, that Primal Archon was a real big champ, toughing everything, and then the Risvos Defender failed to crack armor, which was nice. So a nice overcommitment, just due to the nature of how Primal Archons work sometimes. So there's a few options here. As Elliot said, we both thought that Falcir was Shadowbound, so we, at some point during this turn, we fixed that, though. I forget when exactly. I think I was like measuring Assassination, and then we just quickly double-checked and found out that she was immune to Shadowbind. So that took that off the table. So I'm looking here to, because that Warjack's not in that center zone, I'm looking to try and score 3 points between the flag, the center zone, and then my top zone. It'll take a little bit of effort here to get things rolling, but it's not out of the realm of happening. So what needs to happen is, between all the attacks, I need to clear the Hermit, the 4 Risvos, and the Archer that are all there. Which is a little bit of a tough ask. And what we're doing here is we're measuring the assassination on Falcir, who was camping Zero, and at the time we thought was Shadowbound. Thankfully we catch that before any commitments happened. But it does use a little bit of my time, which on me, I should know how rules work. So what I'm looking there in the top zone is to see if there's a spot where the Stalker can berserk or get 2-inch reach on both of those Electromancers, which would let me berserk and clear both of them, and then I just need to stranglehold that top guy out of the zone. So we go with it first. It charges, it boosts the hit, it lightning strikes, it boosts the hit, and then it boosts the hit, the berserk, and then it sprints back to the nice little spot in the zone. Which I sprinted a little too far because it was -2 speed, so I fixed that. Falcir is very interesting to play into because I have to play around her putting out bounties on my own turn, so it's another order of activation issue. And then also just playing with those debuffs, as they're all very strong. The -2 speed is a pretty big factor on a lot of my list. Which I think that's when we figured out Shadowbound did not affect Falcir, so I took off the token. And I'm just checking to see what can get where. River Rare gets set on fire, and I'm going to try and reel in onto the Manticore, which happens. And since the update, the River Raider got Bane, which is -2 armor on non-living models, which is always nice to have. Kind of setting up to see if I want to commit the Pureblood there with Ghostly, which allows me to get through that house, and then the 2 Valkyries kind of come in and beat them up too. This game is very interesting because we both have 2 Ghostly models with nice outputs. One's his caster and one's a heavy on my side. It's a pretty cool like threat game that would not normally happen under normal circumstances, so it's cool to see that in play. So right now I'm checking for Pureblood spray angles, and then the 2 Valks just charge in on that Manticore, and that bottom one just tries to slap the Risvos, which I think they do like some decent damage. They're effectively POW 14s on the hammers because of Gang and Bane, and then the one that can get the point blank is POW 16 on that. And then the bottom one kills the Risvos. It toughs, which knocks it down because it's not base to base, so I get to shoot it with the point blank shot, which means I don't get hit back by the dying breath, which is always nice. So what's happening here is Pureblood spraying on the 2 Risvos and Hermit, which I believe they both fail their tough, and then Hermit takes a point going down to 4. So early steps of the plan are coming together to score 4, but there's still some pretty tough asks between clearing those 2 models behind the wall and also killing Hermit, which is 4 boxes, possibly 5 if he visions himself. But I also have to have backup attacks for the models behind the wall because they could always get visioned as well. I think just the way things had to activate, I couldn't quite get enough attacks on Hermit to burn the vision before I started going into the models behind the wall, which would have been nice if I could have had that happen first. So right now the Feral Valks are run charging. Make sure I don't block any lanes to what I need. That one ran to just apply gang to make sure I can clear those Risavos as I get 2 attempts to kill it, which we hit, we kill, it doesn't tough, it punches her in the face again, and then I martyr. Threads of Life with the Dunia. Those models Dunias are just really good because it allows you to do a few things you might not normally be able to do on your turn. Being able to keep models alive from attacks, lets you take free strikes, lets you survive dying, lost breaths, or whatever that rule is called. So now the Slaughterhousers are charging in. I get 2 on Hermit, and then 1 on each of the models behind the wall, which normally would be a little tough to clear out, but they are mat 9 on the charge because of Powerful Charge. Oh right, they weren't minus speed, they were Falter Couraged, so that was why I'm rolling an additional die here. I'm dropping the highest, which I hit both of them surprisingly, but Elliot used Hermit's vision on the Risavos Defender behind the wall, which I then have the Dunia Archon charge in and kill Hermit. Thankfully, none of the models I needed to continue on with were within his aura of no spells, no arc node, no forcing. And then, kind of like looking at some things, I'm trying to figure out what can get to that last Risavos, because it's the hardest part of this, and try not to overcommit too much. So Kruger walks up, he has a line there. I have to roll like a 13 to hit, which I roll like a 14, or maybe I rolled 13 on the dot, which kills him. And at this point, I just have to stranglehold that top model out of the zone, which I get 2 chances at. Boosting to hit, and since it's single box, I just need to hit with 1 of them. And then I'd be able to score out here, which I'm just trying to make sure I don't throw away this game by making a dumb mistake. So the Gallows Grove goes, I boost a Stranglehold, but before doing so, Cassius runs, just in case I need to port Wurmwood out. I hit the Stranglehold, he dies, I score 3, and game ends.
Thank you both for letting us record your match and share it on our channel. It was also a real treat to be able to host you both for the first time at our store during our monthly Steamroller. Sorry for giving you the honor of throwing down on the Fire Poison Pond map. That one was a lot of fun. When I sent the images to our artist for this episode, there were many questions between the black and white image of Falcir and a tree. So thanks, Julia. Needless to say, this was a really fun match to watch. At this time, could you both share some of your post-game thoughts?
Sure. So it's always a great time to play Michael, and playing Wurmwood is always a fun challenge. I really felt bad when that Cloud Wall and Forest Wall was in the middle, and I couldn't really do a ton that turn, but that was okay. I do like this Falcir list a lot. I'm still tweaking it a little bit. I am debating on swapping out the Stormfall Archers for another Griffin Light Warjack, as that has Pathfinder and kind of threat fairly far, walk far, and it helps with full throttle. And some thoughts from this game is I thought about this a little bit on the drive home after this. Is I definitely should have had a Warjack towing that center zone, since that would have made it a little difficult. And Michael, you did suggest doing the Falter Courage on one of those heavies on a jack behind the wall would make it fairly difficult to kill.
Yeah, we talked about it after, and if you walked that Banshee in the zone, it would have made it extremely hard for me to kind of score out that turn, because I would have needed to like Hellmouth it and also Stranglehold the guy in my zone, which burns my whole stack, and I have to rely on a hard-rolled Hellmouth. So I think it was a Feral. I recommended doing Falter Courage too, because
yes.
even with Mat 8, you go up to 15. I need Signs Importance 7s dropping the highest, which is pretty bad. That's like a, I don't know, rough head math says like 35-40% at best.
Yeah, it does not feel great for that.
And then at that point, I'm kind of just throwing away a heavy, and it buys you another turn. But this Wurmwood list is felt pretty sweet the few games I've played it. There's a lot of cool moving parts. I think for the first time seeing it, you approached it pretty well, as there is a lot of scary threats between threat ranges, Stranglehold, Hellmouth. You position really well. If I was to make a few changes to this list, I'd probably look at maybe trying to get some Wold Weirds in if I could, because those take Curse of Shadows really well, and it would help me with some issues I ran into with you putting models in hard-to-reach places. And also punishes upkeep spells, which would always be nice.
Oh yeah, that can stop some upkeeps in their track.
And overall, this table was a little bit of a headache, which I always enjoy when tables are like that. If it opens up a problem, I feel like terrain is doing its thing. So it was cool to see all the hazards between the acid cloud, the fire cloud, and the 2 acid pools.
Yeah, that affects my single wound infantry much more than it did your list, I feel.
Yeah, I can kind of, like, the only models I have to be too worried about is, like, the Slaughterhousers, and the rest can kind of just run through the acid, because Valkyries, it would take, like, 5 turns. The Stalker, like, all the heavies, they're fine, and between all the healing, between double Dunias, like, I can afford to take the Corrosion where you really have to avoid it.
Yeah, I feel if I had to make one change for deployment is I wish I swapped the 2 spots of my Warjacks, since then the Manticore could have done Covering Fire to protect my center contesting models from your Slaughterhousers to an extent.
Yeah, Covering Fire is huge on the Manticore. It would have changed the pace of this matchup.
And also, the Banshee has grievous wounds in melee, so that would have prevented those 4 in a row tough rolls on the Primal Archon on the bottom, which is the MVP of the game, I feel.
It was great having you both on the channel. Thank you so much, and hope to see you again for a future Steamroller.
I think so. Yeah, it was a fun game.
Thank you for watching. If there are any warlocks, warcasters, or factions you would like to see on the channel, please let us know in the video comments below. If you'd like to support our channel, please check out our Patreon link in the video description below. Becoming a member gives you access to exclusive content such as unedited original battle reports and early sneak peek previews. See you on the next Tried and True Battle Report.